Hey everyone, welcome back to Bowtech Live. Today is Target Tuesday. It's Tuesday, right? I almost forgot. I lost track of time. Today is Target Tuesday, and it's a pretty big one. I'm surrounded in bows here, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But we wanted to come to you because we had a huge tournament this past weekend, and you've probably been seeing our social media posts. You've hopefully been getting our email blasts announcing the big victory that Bowtech had over this past weekend with the Bowtech Reckoning, but more exact, Paige Pearce with the Reckoning. So we wanted to bring her in live and talk about the tournament a little bit and talk about the Reckoning. So we have her right here live from her house. She just got home pretty early this morning. How you doing, Paige?
Good. How are you guys?
Not bad. You're looking pretty good for getting home at 2 a.m. this morning.
Yeah, a little used to the crazy travel schedule, but I wish I would have slept in a little more than I did, but it'll be all right.
So you got up probably doing some of the camp stuff preparation today a little bit maybe?
Yeah, I didn't do a whole lot of it over the weekend because I was pretty busy, so I had to do a lot of work catch up, and then also school. I didn't do any of that from Thursday to Sunday, so I did a bunch of that this morning.
Gosh, fast paced. So, before we get started with the interview here, make sure you get your questions in here on Facebook. We are monitoring the questions. They're going to feed them over to me, so make sure you get them in because this is a good opportunity to ask Paige about anything Target Archery, about Target Archery in general, or archery in general. She's a big hunter as well, so I'm sure she would love to ask some questions there, even though she's allergic to deer. I always pick on her about that. So let's talk about this huge weekend. So you really had two tournaments in one. We had the USA Indoor National Championship and also the NFAA Indoor Nationals. So let's talk about that USA Indoor National Championship. So talk about how kind of the lead up to it, because your qualifiers were prior to that all over the country. So talk about how that whole program works, or that venue works.
So the way that the USA runs that event is they have separate locations all around the country that people can go to compete. So what's actually cool is, obviously hosting an event in one place is great, but that allows for a lot more people to participate in the event. So I think in the women's category, once we were combined for compound, there was 410 women, which, I mean, that's a ton compared to what normally shows up at tournaments. That's a really big deal. So what they do to qualify is you shoot, and then they combine the women of all ages. So junior women can do it, cadet women can do it, anyone shooting that target face at that distance. All of us are combined. Same for the men and recurve men, recurve women. And then they pick the top 8. Well, they look at the top 8. And then the top 8 will shoot head-to-head against each other there in Cincinnati. So on Friday, the top 8 were cut down, and we had 1-shot 8, 2-shot 7, 3-shot 6, and so on. And it was just single elimination, head-to-head, sudden death. So that day, my first match was against a girl named Reagan, and I actually struggled a little bit in that match, so I was a little nervous kind of starting out. I felt like I was shooting great, and I was just barely missing, just around it, and I was kind of getting frustrated. But I made it through the match. Luckily, from the qualification prior, the big tournament, I was able to qualify first overall. So that gave me a really good seed going into the tournament on Friday. So after that, I actually had to shoot against one of my really good friends, Cassidy Cox, who I think was ranked 4th.
Right.
So I was able to shoot against her, and I shot really well in that match, and then was able to move on to the gold medal match. And I shot against Alexis Ruiz in the gold medal match, who definitely is one of the other, best women in the United States, and she's just been killing it right now, and she's had a really good indoor season as well. So I knew that one was not going to be an easy match. In the finals, we actually shoot 20 seconds alternating scoring. So there's 2 separate clocks, and my clock will buzz, and I have 20 seconds to shoot. And as soon as my arrow goes off, her clock starts, and it goes back and forth like that. So it's pretty high pressure and quick pace, and you don't have a lot of time to think out there. You kind of just have to rely on your subconscious and do what you know how to do. But I ended up shooting a 147 in that match, which is pretty awesome for a finals. I'm usually happy with that. And that was enough to take the win. So I was pretty excited. That was something that meant a lot to me because I won the national finals last year. So I really wanted to try and do that again this year.
Right. And then you actually, let's talk about the Reckoning before we move on to the next tournament. So You've really only had the Reckoning in your hands. So right after the ATA show, I think Lancaster was your first event, if I remember right. We got the bow to you.
Yep.
You know, and we talked about, you know, before, you know, and we'll kind of summarize it after the NFA event. But it seems like you've really taken to this bow pretty quickly.
Yeah, it was something that was really easy to adjust to. I mean, it's so great and it's so easily tunable. I really like the grip, and the interchangeable grip is awesome, so that's really comfortable. I've got to play a lot now with the new cam adjustment system, and it's been great. So I used that this weekend, switching between 3 different arrow setups over the course of the weekend. So that made my life a whole lot easier. But really, I picked it up, and it feels like the other bows, but better. And I don't know how else to put it, but if you guys get a chance to, you know, go shoot it at your local shop or anywhere at a tournament, I think it's going to speak for itself, and it'll make a lot of sense. The draw cycle is really smooth. That bow aims so good. It's the best aiming bow I've ever shot. So that made it a lot easier too to adjust, just because if you can aim with the bow, you know, you can shoot it. So that was something that was really nice.
We have a lot of people ask about the new the deadlock cam system on there, and I know out of the gate, I had sent it to you. I had pre-sent it up. It basically, you know, made sure, you know, the adjustment was set up on center. But I think out of the box, it took very little adjustment. You know, correct me if I'm wrong. Adjustment for you to get that tuned where you wanted it to be.
No, so initially when I set it up with my 27 diameter arrows, which is what I shot in Lancaster, no adjustments. I didn't even have to use the system, and it's literally straight out of the box bullet hole. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. Switching from my 27 diameter arrows to my 23 diameter arrows, they're a little bit weaker, quite a bit weaker than my 27s. And so I had a left tear about like this, I would say. And I could have just used my rest, but obviously I wanted to play with the new system and see how that worked. So I marked the cams, and then I went ahead and just moved it a half turn to the left, that left tear, and it took it right out, like instant bullet hole. That's all I had to do. So what's nice is I had that marked, and then over the weekend I shot the 23 diameter arrows on Friday, and then had to switch over to the 27 diameter arrows for the NFA portion on Saturday, Sunday. Rather than have to mess with my rest, all I had to do was just use that cam system to adjust that left and right, and it was a really easy fix.
And I think you had mentioned that it's as opposed to, because you saw our overdrive binary cam system, and I think you had mentioned to me at one point we were talking that it's much more responsive than the overdrive binary system when you're making that adjustment.
Yeah, it is. I always have crazy left tears because I have really torquey hand grip, and so I would always have to put a lot of twists in my left yoke to basically get the tear out. That's something I've always done. And so with this, it was crazy. I know there's 2.5 turns of adjustment, you know, one way. And for me to get out a tear that in other bows previously, I've known the Bowtechs, but other companies previously, I was never able to get rid of that tear. To just turn that thing a half turn and have it completely taken out is awesome, because I'm like, wow, there's still a whole nother 2 turns that I can adjust, you know. So I can't imagine anyone that's going to have left or right tears that they can't take out in a second with that adjustment system. So I'm really excited for everyone to get to try it, just because it's something that's so new and exciting, and, you know, new technology is always a good thing to play with, but I know the people are going to be really happy.
And really, you're the only one, essentially, you're the only one that's competing, especially at the professional level, with this bow. This bow is not even in stores yet, and I'm probably going to get lit up now with comments, well, why is it not in stores? But soon. I mean, we've got all these cool colors, but like I said, you're the only one that really has it in your hands, you know, which is awesome, and that it shows. And I think, quote me if I'm, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your quote was, if this weekend doesn't show what this bow can do, I don't know what will. I think that's pretty much what you told me.
It's exactly what I said. Indoor archery is, you know, there's no wind, there's no up and down hills, there's no outside elements. It's literally just the archer and the bow, and it's a game of such precision compared to even the other kinds of archery that we shoot. Obviously, they all have challenges, but indoor is, you need to stand there and you need to be perfect over and over and over again, and you can't be anything less than that. So again, for this bow to come out, I've used the new technology. I was using that adjustment system. I used it 2 different times this weekend, just switching back and forth between setups. I mean, it just made it so much easier for me to do that, but it shoots so well. And again, not many bows, not many people really would go into a weekend and shoot a 23 diameter arrow, a 27 diameter arrow, and wrap the weekend up with a nano sized arrow. So to do that all off one bow in one weekend just goes to show how quick and easy it is to get this thing shooting well.
Well, let's talk about that NFA tournament. People are going to be like, "Why? What do you mean switching arrows up? You know, what does this mean? You know?" And it's crazy what you can do there. So walk everybody through this. You know, from day 1, day 2, and that whole adjustment into the finals.
Okay, so for the USA Archery portion, I started the weekend with 23 diameter arrows because that's the maximum diameter size that you can use for USA Archery and World Archery. So I couldn't shoot 27s, I had to shoot 23s max. So when that finished, I decided, okay, it makes sense to shoot my 27s for the NFA portion on Saturday, Sunday. And for that, you know, the goal is there's the 5 spot, and we pretty much need to hit most all of our arrows in the X ring on the 5 spot. So the larger diameter arrow is obviously going to be beneficial. So I went ahead, I had to move just my cams, that half turn that I said that I'd done previously, and was able to get my bow set up. As soon as that tournament finished on Friday, switched to the 27s, got that all adjusted, and then got my, you know, bow shooting. So then Saturday and Sunday, I was able to shoot with the Reckoning and my 27 diameter arrows in the NFA portion. So we shoot a 5 spot. It's 12 ends of 5 arrows, so 60 arrows a day. So there's a whole nother 30 arrows that we shoot in 2 days versus Vegas. We only shoot, you know, 90 in 3, and we're doing 120 in 2. So it's a pretty intensive tournament. It's a lot of arrows, and it's a really, really long round. On the first day, I was able to shoot 59 out of 60 X's. And the one that I missed was on an arrow call. It was really close. And so, you know, I was overall pretty happy with my performance, but obviously, you know, you want to get that 60.
Right.
And after that day, none of the women had cleaned it. There were 5 of us that were tied at 1 down. So I was like, okay, that's fine. No harm, no foul. You know, you're not behind. You know, you just need to do this one more day, and you really need to clean it if you're going to have a chance. Because I knew out of the 5 women that were clean, at least one of them was going to clean it. So then I went into Sunday, and knowing that, you know, it almost makes it a little easier because it's like missing isn't an option. There's no room for error. And I was able to shoot a 60X that day and clean it. So then I was tied for the weekend with Cara Kelly. So now here's where it gets interesting. Honestly, if you'd asked me before I came if I thought I would end up in a tie for first, I would have been like, heck no. So I didn't bring small diameter arrows. So here's why people switch for the shoot off, because it's different than the Vegas shoot off. Instead of just scoring the X ring where you just have to touch the ring, your first end of scoring in the shoot off is scored normal scoring. So basically you need to hit them all in the X ring. But after that, it goes to inside out scoring on that X ring. So if you even touch the inside of that X line, now it scores as the value lower. So at that point, if you're shooting a 27 diameter arrow, you have to be so much more centered than if you're shooting, let's say, a 23 or a nano, which is what I ended up switching to. So the smaller arrows actually give you more room for error and make your dot area a whole lot larger. So I think pretty much all of the pro men and 3 of us that had to shoot off in the women's 3 of the 4 all switched to small diameter arrows. So I didn't actually bring any. Totally not prepared. So I talked to a fellow teammate, Lexi Keller, and we both shoot the same arrow company, and she happened to have some of her nanos with her. So she gave me 6 of those things, and I ran over to the booth, and I actually had Tate grab a target and hold it out, and then I paper tuned through the target.
Oh, geez. He's very trusting. Oh, my gosh.
There was a bunch of people watching that, and they were like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's fine, just relax. So anyway, I got my bow tuned through that, again, quick and easy. It was funny. We actually just eyeballed that because I had to move the rest. Her arrows were too short for me and whatnot. Anyway, and first shot, bullet hole. And everyone was like, whoa, that's crazy, because they were all watching, so that was pretty awesome. So I was able to tune the bow really quick, and then got to go shoot those small diameter arrows for a little while, like an hour, hour and a half, before the shoot off that night. So it was pretty nuts. Over the course of, 3 days, I shot 3 different size arrows, which I've never done before. That's a first for me as well. So it's pretty exciting.
And you've won this back-to-back, correct? Or was that just the USA?
Just the USA. Okay. The NFA portion, I've never actually won this tournament before. I've been 3rd, I think, in it, but I've never actually won. I've been close, but always just barely off. So
check it off the list.
Yeah, so I was really excited about that for sure.
Excellent, excellent. Well, let's talk about, so you said when you switched to the nanos, you didn't have to adjust the cam system at all, or?
So what I did is I already knew roughly what I needed to do because last weekend I actually was able to shoot the Reading course here for like a 3 orange dot shoot. And so left and right wise, it had actually tuned the same as my 23s. So right off the bat, I already knew, hey, to adjust the left and right, I just went back to where I was on my 23s on Friday with the cam. So just a half turn and then half turn to the left. And then my rest, I just went ahead and moved my rest up, obviously, since those arrows were a lot smaller diameter. And then eyeballed the up and down. I knew right where to go on the cam system with the left and right. And then first shot, it was already tuned. So that was pretty awesome.
That is absolutely great. So I know you're moving on here pretty quick. What does your schedule look like in the short term? You're moving on to, I think we have Vegas coming up. I think the Arizona Cup is coming up pretty quick. What's your schedule look like? Other than coming here this weekend.
Yeah, so I was going to say this coming weekend I get to come up there with you guys, so that's going to be really cool. And then the weekend after, I'm actually going to come back up to Oregon. There's an indoor shoot in Klamath Falls that I shoot there often whenever I can make it up. And so basically what my goal is to have a Reckoning set up for outdoor and ready to go by not this coming weekend, but the following weekend for that next tournament in Oregon. And so that's going to be my test run, trial one, check forgiveness, have my outdoor arrows ready. And then the following weekend is Arizona Cup. And then I go actually straight from Arizona Cup to the Dakota Classic, which is another one of the NFAAs. So those are the next two that are very close. But one thing, I don't even know if I've talked to you guys about it, at Arizona Cup is the final leg of our outdoor world team trials for Team USA this year. So the world championships are in, I think the Netherlands. And that's our final leg. So we're actually going to shoot the normal tournament, but then we're going to do 14 head-to-head matches after that tournament, round-robin style matches with the top 8 women on the remainder of Sunday and then Monday after Arizona Cup wraps up to decide who makes that World Championships team. So another side note, so that's not only riding on the weekend, but then also that's the only tournament we get to shoot before the re-rank of the Outdoor World Cup Series. So if I can do well there, then I might be able to jump back onto the World Cup team for the final 2 events of the year. So basically I've got the normal Arizona, then the World Cup, and then the World Championships all on that weekend. So I'm obviously a little stressed about that. It's going to be a really important weekend. There's a lot riding on it, but again, if I can take this bow and switch 3 different setups in 3 days and be fine, I know if I've got 2.5 weeks, I've got way more than enough time to be ready.
Well, let's talk about that. Those of you that have watched our interviews in the past with Paige, she's big on her mental game. So kind of tell us, I don't want to put you on the spot, what is we talked about potential equipment changes, but what's your mental thought process when you're shooting so many different tournaments in one weekend or 1 week span?
I do approach each tournament a little bit differently. In the USA stuff, it's a 15 arrow match. Like I said, sudden death, winner moves on, loser's done. And there's not a lot of room for error in that. Now, for that, we are scoring the baby X on the Vegas face as a 10. So it is a little more challenging because our 10 is much smaller than, the standard Vegas 10. But on that one, I take a very aggressive type approach to that. It's like do or die, get out there, 3 strong shots, make it count. There's no room for error. Then finishing that and rolling over into the NFAA, I mentioned there's 120 arrows that we shoot for score. And essentially, it usually ends up in the end that there's a shoot-off for the most indoor events, and it did work out that way. Obviously, there was 21 men that shot off, and then Cara and I were tied for first. There was also a 2-way tie for third. The other 2 girls had to shoot off as well. So there was 4 of us women out there who had to shoot. And it's almost a different mindset because that 120 arrows almost becomes a qualifying round. Because okay, I'm going to have to shoot for 2 days. And basically the goal is not to miss. But there's no super aggressive, I've got to do this right now. It's slow and steady wins the race. Stay focused, stay confident, keep your mind in it because it's very, very easy to have a mental lapse in that 5-spot NFAA round. And anyone that has shot it knows it's a very taxing mental round, much more so than Vegas. Vegas is quick. and this just drags on. So basically, I just tried to stay cool and composed and roll through, you know, that 60 arrows each day. Once I had made it to the, you know, basic finals, or where I was tied for first, then at that point, it's like, all right, back to the aggressive, do or die. It's now or nothing, you know, shoot off 5 arrows at a time. And that's what's going to make the difference with first or second. So depending on the type of tournament I'm shooting, I definitely take a different mental approach. Just because, like I said, if you have that such an aggressive type thought, you would wear yourself out in that normal round.
I was going to ask you, I'm sorry, I thought maybe I missed you. I got a little, maybe somebody said something. Get some funky feedback. Sounds like somebody's talking to the, I don't think on your end, something feedback in here. So
that's crazy.
I don't know if you hear it on your end. Sorry, guys, if you're watching this, might get some funky feedback in there. So let's talk about bow setup. You had mentioned setting up going indoor to outdoor. How does your bow differ? I always get a lot of people asking that, so I'm kind of going to ask it for them. You know, what different? I mean, do you run different sights, different scopes? What's the big changes? I don't want you to give away your playbook, but
no, it's no problem. So basically, going to outdoor, the main thing that you're going to change is my rest. Indoor, I shoot a standard size blade, a 10 thousandths blade, and I shoot that for the 23s and the 27s. Now going outdoor, I'm going to shoot, it's called the Freak blade, which is a specific blade size to AAE rests. It's very, very skinny at the top, so that way you can shoot your small diameter arrows and not get contact, not get clutching contact as they go across the blade. So I have to switch that and obviously retune. The other thing is where my D-loop and my D-loop ties are and my peep sight on the string. If I just left those where they are, my arrow would be tuned very, very high off of the shelf. So I actually have to cut out those inner ties and drop all of that down to move my arrow a little bit lower to the shelf. The other thing I actually change is my poundage. I do go up in poundage from indoor season to outdoor season, which it's kind of crazy because I think I do shoot a lot more arrows outdoor season, but also that little bit of speed does help with like the angle cuts and the wind and stuff like that. So I do turn my poundage up. I also shorten my draw length just a little bit. Indoor is so consistent, right? Flat field, same thing every time. But when you start going outside and shooting up and down hills and you're shooting a back tension style, you know, shot, it can be very difficult to execute your release correctly uphill and downhill if your draw length is any little bit on the long side. So I do shorten my draw length, I'd say around 1/4 inch at least, going from indoor to outdoor season. Also, I've noticed that a little bit shorter draw length is a little easier to control on really, really windy days at FIDA. If you're really, really extended, it's kind of hard to control that, but if you can bring it in just a little bit, I noticed I drift a little less in the wind. So those are the main things that I'm going to change. Obviously, I switch arrows, which is the whole reason I'm doing a lot of that. But my sight, in my sight for indoor, I shoot a very, very large black dot because I do shoot an 8-power lens. And so for outdoor, I'll shoot an 8-power lens and a 7-power lens, depending on the tournament, but I actually switched from a dot to a 19 thousandths fiber. And I shoot a green fiber. Oops, sorry, that was me.
She must have got a call.
I know. Someone called. Anyway, so yeah, I switched to a green 19 thousandths fiber, and I shoot that for outdoor stuff as well. So that's pretty much all I changed. I know that probably sounded like a lot, but that's really, it's nothing too crazy. It's pretty easy adjustments. Granted, I've done it, you know, for so many years now. I kind of know the drill, but it definitely takes some time. You know, for everyone at this point is going to be switching their indoor setup to outdoors. So hopefully any little tricks or tips like that, if I can help them, that'd be good.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you just mentioned something about, you know, you've done quite a few years, and I have a good question in here from Matthew Wolbert. Let's talk about sponsorships. So, you know, you've been shooting with us for several years. You have a lot of accessory sponsors. You've been sponsored by other companies over the years. Matthew's asking, he says, I shoot 3D here in Arkansas. He wants to know how we get sponsored by Bowtech or Diamond. So it's a good question. Answer it if you could, answer it from a perspective of how would somebody go about the process of getting sponsored by anybody?
This is such a good question because I get this question all the time. And if anyone knows me, they know that I am a brutally honest individual. So that's exactly
I never knew that. I never knew that a bit.
That's exactly what I'm going to give him right now. And it may not be the answer he wants, but it's the truth. Basically, companies have what I would more call, instead of a professional staff, a promotional staff. And so the goal is to put yourself in a position where you are able to go out and represent or promote for the company that you are looking to represent. So the only way to do that is go to tournaments, compete, continue to improve. And this takes time. It's not something where you can roll in and place third or second, even first at one event and be like, awesome, I won a tournament, now I should be sponsored. Because what they want to see is consistency. And so, you just have to be very dedicated, and you really have to care about this. And obviously it sounds like he does. But just go to as many events as you can, get the experience under your belt, and anything that you can then use to build a resume that shows the consistency within your archery career, that will give you something to then turn over to these companies and say, hey, I don't like the word professional because there's very, very few of us that actually do this professionally. I would consider most of the staffs or most of the people in the archery industry a promotional shooter. That's how I would word it. That basically, hey, this is what I have done previously. This is what I bring to the table, and this is how I can promote Bowtech or whatever the other company may be. And really, that's my best advice. That's what I did. I spent years traveling around, building a resume, and shooting all different kinds of events to basically try and say, hey, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I can do, and I'm going to prove it to you. And then once I was able to prove it to everybody, then I knew that they would have that faith in me.
Right. And that's the first thing, I'm glad you mentioned promotional staff, because when we're taking applications, one of the questions we put on there is, what Bowtech dealer do you represent? Because that is big for us, because I'll call the dealers and say, hey, I've got such and such person applying. Do you know this person? Sometimes I get them, oh yeah, I know them. They come in here all the time. They've been shooting your bows for a long time. Or a lot of times they'll be like, I have never ever seen that person in here before. They're just picking somebody off the list. So that's big for us as a manufacturer, getting out there, supporting your local dealer. And what I tell a lot of people is, if we don't sponsor you that year, I'll give them recommendations, because they'll ask, what can I do better? I will tell them, get in there and volunteer with your dealer. Help them out. Say, hey, if they have an event, say, can I come in and help? With. That's how I did it. Before I even started full-time in the industry with our local dealer, I went there and worked in the shop after my normal hours, my normal 9-to-5 job. I helped out in the shop. So I recommend doing that, because they definitely appreciate it, and that's how you establish reputation with the dealer and in the area as well. You don't necessarily have to win everything, but you're a brand ambassador.
A lot of the bow sales happen at that grassroots home level, and it's different. Like, obviously here I am saying, yeah, I just won 2 nationals this weekend, and that's so great. Obviously the goal is turn this into bow sales. That's a given. But, my dad is a great example. I'll use him. He's been on many different staffs for different companies, and he never really traveled around at that national level. But in our state of California, Southern Oregon, Nevada, in this area, he was always very well known. He would go out of his way to help people at any local events. He was in the bow shop. Again, he would help a lending hand to anybody, answer any questions, and he was respected within the area of the archers, hunters, and shop owners. And so I think that's something that, more people need to realize as well. If you can't afford to get to these big tournaments and these national events, that's not your only avenue.
Right.
You can make a difference, and you can earn a position, earn your spot by doing that type work back home. And really, it's just being a good person, being available for people if they have questions. And it takes a lot of work, and that's still going to take time. And obviously, building a rapport with that dealer is going to take some time as well. But again, if you're serious about getting sponsored or becoming, a staff member with different companies, then that's a good path to take also.
That's a great, I love that advice. I have a question that came through that I'm not sure who it's from, but it's a good question. So the question is, my daughter shoots a Fanatic 2.0 and is thinking about the Reckoning. Is it a better bow than the Fanatic? I know you were a big fanatic on the Fanatic, but...
You guys are going to put me on the spot.
Yeah.
So here's what I would say about the Reckoning.
I'm taking notes.
Okay. So obviously the goal of every company when they come out with a new product is to improve the product, make it better and more consumer friendly, obviously more tunable, like, you know, all these things that we've already said, that was the goal. I will say from the Fanatic to the Reckoning does aim better for me. It is easier to tune. I prefer the grip. I actually like the 35-inch axle to axle. It's been very easy to control. So again, they said their daughter, size-wise, that bow is working really, really well for me. The new cams are very smooth, which allows me to pull more poundage than normal. The slotted cable stop system is great because you can micro adjust. So I don't want to hate on the Fanatic because that is not at all what I mean. For what we had at the time, that is an incredible bow. But in my honest opinion, the Reckoning just takes that and they improved every little piece of that bow when they put out the Reckoning. So I would definitely say it's worth getting it and giving it a try. At least, very least, go down to your local dealer and let her shoot it. I don't have to say a whole lot because I promise when she does, it'll sell itself. It's pretty much what I've been telling people. And everyone I've let shoot my bow at tournaments has been like, wow, the draw cycle's crazy, the back wall's great, love the grip. It's had nothing but good feedback. And so I still have people come up, check out the new adjustments and all the new stuff on the bow. And no, I'm really happy with it. I feel like Bowtech took a very, very good step in the right direction, coming out with not even just a new bow, but also new technology that no one else has seen before.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that. So we had mentioned the Reckoning. So I'm fortunate enough to have almost all the colors in here now that I wanted to share with everybody. I just noticed we got a low battery, so I hope we don't lose you, Paige. So I just got a low battery notification in our iPad over there, but we should be okay. So behind us we have the white, we've got the hyper green, we've got the caught red-handed red. I almost forgot the name of it. I've got the blue. So this is called Blew Me Away Blue. A lot of you may have already seen that. Now we have 3 additional colors that we've had on the website. So we have a smoke gray, OD green, and the flat dark girth. And this is in addition to a black and also mossy oak brown country roots that we have available. And we're doing all the other high-end camo colors as well. So we have Sitka, we have Cryptek. So you can pretty much get every color out there available on the Reckoning, whether you're going to hunt with it or shoot target with it. So there's a lot of options out there. So got a lot of questions in there about shipping. So you're going to start seeing these bows hit your dealer shelves in the really here quick, probably in the next few weeks. Get in there. Ask them about the bow, because if they don't have one coming, ask them to get one coming in to test it out, because you will not be sorry, especially with the deadlock technology and specifically the deadlock cam system in there, because it is really the most tunable, that I should even say the most easily tunable cam system in the world. That, I'm going to use the term, you're going to hear it from us all the time, that is precise for light, because you can adjust it and lock it in. So get in there, talk to your dealer about it, ask them to get that in if they have not ordered it, because that way you can shoot it and get one out for your own. So, Paige, I appreciate you joining us today. I know you had some sleep to catch up on. It's been a long night for you, but again, I appreciate you joining us, and I look forward to you coming up here and joining us on Friday. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me and for the continued support. I did not expect this last weekend to go as well as it did. I don't know any other time you can win 2 national championships back to back. So I'm still so in awe, I think, of that. I'm kind of still in shock, but I'm obviously home now and looking forward to heading up there this weekend and getting to not only spend time with all of you guys, but spend time with everybody there at the Bowtech factory. It's
going to be awesome. Well, we lost you visual. We still can hear you on audio. So again, thanks for joining us. Everybody else, thank you for joining us as well. Make sure you check back with us. We're going to have all kinds of cool live content. I forgot to mention, we're giving away one of these. I'm going to throw a curveball to our AV guy over there. We're going to be giving away a Reckoning in early September. We're giving you the opportunity to enter. What you need to do is text the word deadlock to 64600. That way you can get entered to win. So you get in there, answer a few questions for us, and then you get an opportunity to win a Reckoning for yourself. So again, that's text the word deadlock, DEADLOCK, to the number 64600. We'll shoot you a text with the link. You can get in there and have an opportunity to win. If you want to see more cool content from Bowtech just like this, we're going to give you another text word. All you need to do is text the word "Go Live," GOLIVE, to the same number, 64600. We'll get you signed up for notifications, and then you'll know whenever we go live, when we have more cool interviews with all of our pros, all of our cool content. It's great stuff. Make sure you sign up. Again, Paige, thanks for joining us. Nobody can see you. They can hear you, so we will see you this weekend. Everybody else, we'll see you next time here on Bowtech Live. Until then, have fun and shoot straight.